Hello, welcome back to the Breaking News Update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you are watching Boyd News. Want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got a very big lineup of news that I'd like to share with all of you today. So today's date is May 14th, 2025, and it's Wednesday. I've got a lot of news to cover for you guys in today's update. Take a look at your screen here. We're going to talk about the EU approving a new round of sanctions on Russia. European Union ambassadors agree on 17th sanctions package against Russia. The EU has approved the 17th package of sanctions against Russia. The list of restrictions includes 189 more vessels of Moscow's Shadow Fleet, according to EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. Okay, so I think this is where it all begins today, as we're going to start to see a lot of European countries, maybe even the US, come out very soon, start slamming sanctions down onto the Russian economy. And we know that by tomorrow, on the 15th, which by the way is going to be my birthday, I'll be 34 tomorrow. We should be hearing whether this war is going to come to an end. Do you guys think it will end or not? Vladimir Putin might attend the meeting tomorrow in Turkey. We'll see. I do have some information on that we'll cover today. We're also waiting to see if U.S. President Donald Trump is going to be there as well. And I think if Trump does show up, that's a huge sign that Putin might be there as well. Okay, so we're going to talk more about these sanctions today, and then also some of the sanctions that could be coming down onto Russia's economy here very soon if we happen to hear tomorrow that this war is not coming to an end and maybe Vladimir Putin wants to continue this war and invasion into Ukraine. Okay, so lots of news to cover today, guys. We're going to go ahead and jump right into this. We've got a lot of other things we're going to be covering as well in this topic of war today. So for Military News UA on X, 17th package of sanctions against Russia approved by the EU, according to AFP. The measures will affect more than 100 oil tankers linked to the Russian Shadow Fleet, companies from third countries, including the UAE, Turkey, Serbia, Vietnam, and Uzbekistan, suspected of helping Russia evade sanctions. Yeah, I think at least 30 different companies from different countries have been sanctioned that are helping Russia evade sanctions, continue to transport oil around the world. And we know that 189 Russian Shadow Fleet tankers have also been sanctioned in this package as well. I don't know exactly how many tankers Russia has, but they have anywhere from somewhere between like 600 and 1,400 tankers, I believe. They could have even more than that. But 200 is pretty significant on top of so many other Russian oil tankers that have already been sanctioned. And I think it was just the other day the UK announced like 91 tankers being sanctioned as well. So we're talking like 300 just in the last week. So pretty massive amount of tankers, and I'm sure there will be more to come over time. And it probably just takes a while for the EU and other countries to get together and figure out which tankers they need to be going after, which is why they're so slow with this process. But pretty significant today, okay? So we're going to move on to another update now. This is from Kaja Kallas, the EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, also the Vice President of the European Commission. She says, "We are upping the pressure on Russia to end its war. I welcome the agreement on the 17th package of sanctions. It will target more of Russia's Shadow Fleet, which is illegally shipping oil for revenues to fund Putin's aggression. Sanctions drain Russia's war chest." Okay, that was a statement coming out from her today, announcing the agreement on the 17th package of sanctions onto Russia today. Now let's talk about some of the sanctions that could be coming here very soon. Savchenko Volodymyr on X put out a good list of some of the sanctions that could be coming onto Russia's economy very soon if they choose to not end this war tomorrow. And it says here, what sanctions will Russia face if it refuses to agree to a ceasefire? EU ambassadors on the 17th package of sanctions against Russia, they also approved additional sanctions for human rights violations, hybrid intervention around the world, and the proliferation of chemical weapons. Okay, so lots was being targeted, not just these companies that are helping Russia evade and the Shadow Fleet, but also some other areas like human rights violations, hybrid intervention around the world, proliferation of chemical weapons, like it states here, also being targeted today. The media reported the day before that the new package of sanctions would affect about 50 individuals and legal entities and 31 companies. The Shadow Fleet will also be included in the sanctions list. Okay, that's regarding the EU sanctions today. Also from Great Britain, or from the UK, on May 9th, The UK introduced the largest package of sanctions in history, which included 91 oil tankers on the Russian Shadow Fleet since the beginning of 2024. These vessels have transported cargo worth more than 24 billion. Okay, so the UK recently announcing sanctions on Russia's Shadow Fleet as well. Yesterday, the Verkhovna Rada, which is the Ukrainian parliament, adopted in the first reading a bill on the mechanism for applying sanctions against Russia's Shadow Fleet. 269 members of parliament voted for. Okay, some more targeting of Russia's Shadow Fleet coming out of Ukraine. Now from Germany, Merz said that EU is ready to impose tougher sanctions on Russia if no progress is made this week in ending the war. We don't know all the details on that, but we heard about that yesterday. I gave you guys that update from Germany. Now from Macron, the president of France, supported Merz's position. He said that if Russia does not agree to a 30-day truce, France, together with the United States, will impose new sanctions. Macron stressed that we will act quickly and decisively. Okay, and I have information today coming out from France that they could be unveiling that package of sanctions onto Russia here soon. Now, for the United States, Kellogg said that the new package of sanctions against Russia will be the largest in history. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham also reported that the draft law on sanctions against Russia provides for the introduction of a 500% tariff on imports from countries purchasing Russian oil, oil products, natural gas, or uranium. Yeah, so that's a big one, right? We've heard about that bill that Republican Senator Lindsey Graham put forth in the Senate to try to get this thing passed. And they could potentially be putting 500% tariffs on any countries that import Russian oil, oil products, natural gas, uranium. I mean, that's huge. If that happens to be the case, that will shut down Russia's economy for good, as many of these countries will no longer be able to purchase any oil or products from Russia that's listed here, okay? Now, from the EU, they also intend to continue putting pressure on Russia to prepare the 18th package of sanctions. The new restrictions will include the export of fossil fuels, okay, so directly going after Russia's oil economy again in an 18th package of sanctions that will be prepared here very soon, on top of the 17th that was announced today. Now from Poland, Polish finance minister also believes that the most effective way to reduce the flow of income for the Russian military machine is to limit the export of fossil fuels. So even Poland on board agreeing go after Russia's oil. Now for Lithuania, the Lithuanian finance minister said that the 18th package of sanctions should focus on isolating the Russian banking system. So could they even go after Russia's banking sector? That's something that the U.S. is thinking about doing as well. Trump has already warned Russia that they could possibly start doing that after they start announcing sanctions onto Russia if Putin chooses not to end this war. Now, finally, the European Commission Representative Paula Pino, if I'm saying that right, said at a briefing in Brussels that if Russia refuses to ceasefire, one of the options for additional restrictions could be sanctions against Nord Stream 2. So, I mean, look at that, guys. That is a lot of restrictions and sanctions onto Russia's economy. I mean, just the 500% tariffs alone, I think, would be more than enough to force Russia to end this war. I mean, if all these countries around the world were forced to no longer purchase oil products alone from Russia, I mean, that could definitely hurt their economy. And on top of that, we've been hearing so many reports that Russia's economy is not doing well right now. It's heavily reliant on this war. So we're going to go ahead and move on to another update now from Max 24. French Foreign Minister Barrot told BFM TV that the U.S. and Europeans should prepare to impose devastating sanctions to force Russia to end its war in Ukraine. Barrot said he would meet in Turkey on Thursday with Lindsey Graham, who has developed a package of extremely powerful sanctions, including 500% tariffs on Russian oil imports and 500% tariffs on countries that continue to import Russian oil today. Russia has found ways to circumvent the blockade imposed by Europe and the U.S., and closing the tap in this way is a way to take Russia by the throat, Barrot said. I hope that Europe will be able to impose sanctions on hydrocarbons, he said. Okay, so France is preparing some major action against Russia here very soon, also teaming up with the United States, with Lindsey Graham, with this whole bill to sanction Russia on 500% secondary tariffs on any countries that purchase Russian oil. I mean, this could be absolutely huge, guys. We'll have to see what's going to happen here. I mean, I'm seeing some positive signs that maybe we might see some good news coming out from tomorrow. But it really, just remains to be seen. We're going to have to see what happens here. And also if Vladimir Putin is going to be attending the Turkey meeting tomorrow. Now, from Savchenko Volodymyr again, the massive sanctions announced by Macron will be implemented in the coming days, including financial sector and hydrocarbons. Okay, so there's that news right there coming out of France. Looks like we will be hearing some sort of news on sanctions coming from France here very soon. And from what we understand, it is going to be pretty heavy, a heavy blow to Russia's economy. Also, from Noble reports, Ukraine's foreign minister Andriy Sybiha has arrived in Turkey ahead of anticipated negotiations. He will hold meetings with Ukraine's partners to coordinate diplomatic efforts aimed at achieving a fair peace. Okay, so allegedly, Andriy Sybiha, the foreign minister of Ukraine, is already in Turkey, and I believe Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, should be there already. Both of them left yesterday on their presidential aircraft. So now from Anton Gerashenko, Andriy Yermak, head of Ukrainian presidential office. I can only tell you what I heard from President Trump once. He said, if Putin refuses to make an agreement, I will give Ukraine more than it can imagine. I like this sentence very much. He shared that with Le Monde in response to the question on whether Ukraine expects to receive or buy more weapons from the United States. Okay, that is very big news coming from Andriy Yermak, okay, the head of Ukrainian presidential office. He works side by side with Volodymyr Zelensky. He's got information apparently that Trump is stating that if Putin refuses to agree to a peace settlement to end this war, we're going to see the U.S. heavily arm Ukraine, the likes of what we have never seen, according to Andriy Yermak. Okay, and Ukraine could be receiving a lot of different weapons potentially that could massively bolster their army and help them out in this fight against Russia. So expect that to happen on top of massive sanctions on Russia here very soon. So that's very big news today coming from Andriy Yermak. Now, from Anton Gerashenko, President Trump said he's still considering whether to attend talks on the war in Ukraine, planned for Thursday in Turkey, but he does not know whether Putin will go. I don't know if Putin is showing up. I know he would like me to be there, and that's a possibility. If we could end the war, I'd be thinking about that. Tomorrow, we're all booked out. You understand that? We're all set. We're going to the UAE tomorrow, and so we have a very full situation. That doesn't mean I wouldn't do it to save a lot of lives and come back. But yeah, I think they're thinking about something. I don't know what Putin would be there if I'm not there. We're going to find out. Marco Rubio's going, and Marco's been very effective, President Trump told reporters aboard Air Force One en route to Qatar. Okay, so today Trump is heading over to Qatar. He was just in Saudi Arabia yesterday, met with the Crown Prince over there, and now he's heading over to Qatar, and I want to show you guys this clip here. It will only have audio, but you're going to hear Trump communicating with reporters that he is allegedly open and available to potentially attend the meeting tomorrow in Turkey to meet with Putin and Zelensky. Take a look.
What happens on Thursday if President Putin doesn't show up in Turkey for the talks with Ukraine? What will you do?
Well, I don't know if he's showing up. I know he would like me to be there. And that's a possibility. If we could end the war, I'd be thinking about that. Now, tomorrow, we're all booked out. You understand that? We're all set.
But you go if he goes?
We're going to go UAE tomorrow. And so we have a very full situation. Now, that doesn't mean I wouldn't do it to save a lot of lives and come back. But, I think they're thinking about something. I don't know that he would be there if I'm not there. We're going to find out. Marco's going. And Marco's been very effective.
What happens on Thursday?
Okay, so sorry guys, the audio might have been a little low there. That's why they've got subtitles here on the screen. But yeah, according to Trump, he might possibly show up. And I heard some information yesterday as well that allegedly Putin was asking Trump directly to show up. So is that a sign that the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, is going to be there? We'll really have to see. I don't have official confirmation yet, but I do have information on that here to show you guys. So for Max 24, good news on Ukraine could come today, tomorrow, and possibly Friday, is what Trump says. So does that mean that maybe this war is going to come to an end this week? I mean, me personally, I think it's going to be very difficult for Russia and Ukraine to reach a settlement deal here. Doesn't look highly likely that we will see an end to this war this week, but I could be completely wrong, and maybe they will find a way to resolve this. We know Ukraine really does want a ceasefire right now, and they want to start working towards ending this war. So I know Ukraine is very open to that, but what we've seen from Russian President Vladimir Putin, he doesn't seem very happy with trying to end this war right now, and seems more focused on continuing the war than anything. So we'll see what happens on that. Now from Noel reports, President Lula from Brazil wants to speak with Putin and urge him to negotiate directly with Zelensky in Istanbul on May 15, 2025. Lula, a longtime friend of Putin, said he'll try to convince the Russian leader to attend the talks, which would be the first direct negotiations since spring 2022. Hey, Comrade Putin, go to Istanbul and negotiate, for God's sake, he added. Okay, so yeah, allegedly the president of Brazil wants to try to encourage Vladimir Putin to show up tomorrow at the talks. I believe he was in Moscow today, or is going to Moscow today, to meet directly with him and encourage him to show up tomorrow. So looks like there is some support around the world, and other countries are trying to urge him to go over there and try to end this war. So maybe there's a possibility he will show up. Also, look at this from Noel Reports. The Kremlin keeps us guessing on whether Putin will attend in person tomorrow in Istanbul. Peskov says Putin has working meetings planned for tomorrow. Then the journalists ask him, in Russia? Peskov responds, thank you very much. Okay, so this is the clip here. It's not in English. It's in Russian, so I'm not going to worry about playing it, but that was allegedly what was going on here. Peskov saying that Putin's got some meetings to go to tomorrow, and then this journalist like, where? Well, is it going to be in Russia, or maybe it's going to be in some other country? Obviously talking about Turkey, right? And he was just like, thank you very much. I'm not going to give you that information. So they're still keeping everybody guessing. Now for Max 24, Peskov said the composition of the Russia delegation that will go to Istanbul will be announced when the corresponding instructions from the president are received. So that pretty much just means that we're waiting on Vladimir Putin to make a decision, okay? Is he going to be sending himself over there, or is he going to be sending a delegation team, okay? We're hearing a lot that a delegation team is going to be showing up. That would be Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister, and then also the foreign policy aide to Putin as well, Yuri Ushakov. We're hearing that those two should be showing up tomorrow, but we're not hearing anything about Putin yet. So there's your update there. Now for Max 24, a statement from Putin is expected today, Russian media reports. What do you expect? Okay, so this makes me wonder if a statement's coming out from Putin today. Is he going to announce that he's going to be heading over to Russia, or he could say the opposite? He could say, "I'm not going to be going to Turkey." Excuse me. If I said Russia, I meant Turkey. Then he's going to be ended up sending his two members of his delegation team, which is going to be Sergei Lavrov, Yuri Ushakov. They will be attending in his place instead of Putin being there. Okay, so we'll find out what's going to happen today. I'll give you guys that update later. Now from Anton Gerashenko, Russia will announce its representative for the talks in Istanbul this evening. Russian member of parliament Slutsky said. He added that Russia might agree to discuss the all-for-all prisoner exchange proposed by President Zelensky, but stressed that Russia intended to try some captured Ukrainian defenders and would not release them. Okay, so allegedly here, this member of parliament in Russia, Slutsky, going to be stating that they're going to be announcing who's going to be representing Russia here in these talks tomorrow in Turkey tonight. That could also be announced by Russian President Vladimir Putin. We'll probably hear about that. And also, apparently, we've been hearing from Zelensky, too. I've got some information that Zelensky wants to do like a complete transfer of all prisoners on both sides in an effort to end this war from Ukraine and Russia. They'll do like a massive prisoner swap, whatever they've got. But apparently, the Russians do want to try some of them for crimes against Russia. So take a look at this.
Стамбул пока ничего не скажу, все узнаете вечером. Если реальным образом поменять всех на всех, это вопрос, который может рассматриваться. Но с учетом тех преступлений, которые совершены, в частности, азовцами и им подобными. Так что будем подходить к этому делу вдумчиво и детально. Стамбул пока ничего не...
Okay, so apparently they want to keep some of the Ukrainian fighters over there and try them for war crimes, apparently. So they're not willing to do a prisoner swap completely. But yeah, there was a statement coming out today from this member of parliament, Slutsky, in Russia today. And but apparently they are open to discussing an all-for-all prisoner exchange, okay? So now for Bliskovka, the meeting with Putin in Istanbul could result in a ceasefire and the exchange of all prisoners of war, Zelensky tells Liberation. Other theses, if Putin does not come, it will look like his defeat. The war cannot go on for another 10 years. The cost is too high for everyone. The parties must find a format to start the process of ending the war. Agreements should be guaranteed by external mediators. There is no trust between the parties. Okay, so more talk here that, Zelensky is very serious about ending this war. I mean, he called out Vladimir Putin and said, meet me in Turkey. That shows that he's very serious on ending this war. I mean, if he's willing to negotiate directly with Putin when he's literally called him a terrorist, that's a very big sign that Vladimir Zelensky is serious about trying to find a peace settlement to end this thing. Okay, so we're really gonna have to see what happens tomorrow. But you guys, let me know what you think. Do you think Putin will show up? And if he does show up, do you think we'll see some sort of progress here on a peace settlement to end the war, or do you think this war is going to carry on? Now, for Max 24, we need a ceasefire, first of all, to save the lives of our people. I have no doubt that Zelensky is fully prepared for such a meeting, and together, in cooperation with our partners, we can achieve the desired result. Okay, so this is Kirilo Budnov, the intelligence chief inside of Ukraine for the GUR. This was apparently his statement today. Okay, so he believes that Vladimir Zelensky will be able to achieve a full ceasefire in this war, potentially even ending it. So that's good. Okay, that means that Zelensky does have backing from top officials in Ukraine. Now for Max 24, drone attack on occupied Crimea and Russia. Okay, so allegedly last night, we did have drones entering into Crimea and southwestern Russia down here in Krasnodar. Not too many reports on damage, but I do have some things to show you guys. We did have some reports also yesterday that like a Russian TOR air defense system was destroyed as well. I've got new video on that today. So we'll kind of go over a couple things here that I was able to find. This one for Max 24, there was a strike on a Russian logistics base in occupied Tokmak at night. Okay, this was probably the drone attack coming from Ukraine. Now, Tokmak is a central city in the Zaporizhzhia region of Ukraine. Okay, so like southern Ukraine, but this would be an occupied territory by the Russians. Allegedly, some sort of strike on a logistics base. According to this information, you can see pictures here, massive fire that broke out on that building and damage to some other buildings nearby from a drone attack from the Ukrainians. Okay, and if you look at this map, this is where a lot of these drones were heading. Okay, the Zaporizhzhia region would be right here. And right in this area, if you can see where my pointer is at, is where the attacks would have taken place in Tokmak. Okay, kind of in the center area of the Zaporizhzhia region. And we definitely had drones heading that direction. So that's probably what happened last night. Now I'll move on to another update over here. We'll go ahead and let this roll. I've got this video here from Max 24, the aftermath of a strike on a TOR air defense missile system, one of the units of the 205th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade. The strike was carried out using a UAV, the outskirts of Kukovka, Kherson region. Now, I don't know if these were strikes from last night or if this is the report that we had yesterday. I did share some information with you guys at one point that a TOR M2 air defense system was reportedly destroyed. And I saw a video at one point, just in the last 24 hours, that there was a TOR air defense system being hit from a Baba Yaga drone, which is a drone that drops like kind of these grenades or bombs directly on top of the unit. And apparently it caught on fire after being hit by multiples of these grenades or explosives that are attached to the drone. And it was kind of driving along, catching on fire, and it eventually was destroyed. Okay, and this is a new video coming out showing one of these TOR air defense systems blown up. Okay, so this is something we've been talking a lot about as well, that on the Russian side, we're hearing a lot of reports that the Russians are very short on air defense systems, and here's some evidence of that right there. Now for military news UA, on May 11th, the Ukrainian Armed Forces shelled the headquarters of the 40th Separate Guards Marine Brigade in Rylsk, in the Kursk region. The deputy commander, Oleksandr Danilov, reportedly died from wounds received during the attack. Okay, so apparently we had a deputy commander of Russia's military out of the 40th Separate Guards Marine Brigade that was killed in an attack in the Kursk region on May 11, just 3 days ago. And I've got a video that I can show you guys. This video is just coming out today showing the strike on this command post in Rylsk in the Kursk region. Take a look. All right, so it looks like this building here took a pretty massive hit. Probably HIMARS missiles, what I'm thinking, was striking this building. Look at it, just completely destroyed. And we have been seeing a lot of HIMARS attacks taking place. I showed you guys a video yesterday. We had a bridge over here in the Kursk region being targeted, okay? So this is more evidence that Ukraine is still repeatedly hitting the Kursk region. Now for NOAA reports, NATO has reaffirmed that support for Ukraine remains a top priority. Admiral Giuseppe Cavo-Dragon, NATO's military committee chairman, emphasized during a meeting in Brussels that support for Ukraine must remain key so that when the time comes, Kyiv can sit at the negotiating table from a position of strength. Okay, so NATO coming out directly and saying that they still reaffirm support for Ukraine, and Ukraine is a top priority for NATO. So it doesn't look like NATO's going to be stepping back anytime soon as far as support for Ukraine. They're going to continue military support and cooperation to help the Ukrainians come out on top in this war. Now, for Bliskovka, in the next 2 weeks, there will be a window of opportunity to resolve the war in Ukraine, says NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. Okay, so let me know what you guys think. Again, do you think this war is going to come to an end here in the next couple weeks completely? Do you think potentially tomorrow could we see a 30-day ceasefire being agreed by Russia and Ukraine? Because we know that's where it needs to start. It needs to start with a ceasefire first, then both sides can start negotiating. But we know the Russia side does not want a ceasefire. They just want to negotiate, but at the same time continue on their invasion into Ukraine. Ukraine wants a 30-day ceasefire before agreeing to any negotiations. So we're going to have to see what happens tomorrow. But you guys let me know what you think on that right there down in the comments. Now for Max 24 again, NATO allies are working on an agreement to significantly boost defense spending, aiming to reach 5% of GDP on defense and defense-related spending by 2032. According to Bloomberg, the proposal pushed by Rutte includes a 3.5% for defense spending and 1.5% for related areas. Okay, so it looks like NATO going to be trying to push 5% of GDP on all countries here in the future by 2032, excuse me. And that's very big. I mean, we've been hearing that they were trying to get to like somewhere like 3% or more. But it looks like they are shooting for the moon and going to be heading for 5% here. That means in the near future, Europe is going to be heavily armed. Okay, the longer that time goes on, they're going to be increasing this defense spending more and more by 2032. Now, from NOAA reports, German and Swiss authorities have arrested 3 Ukrainian nationals on suspicion of planning sabotage attacks on behalf of Russian intelligence services. The men allegedly prepared explosive or incendiary packages intended for dispatch from Germany and Ukraine to Ukraine, targeting freight transport systems. Okay, this is crazy, guys. I mean, another hybrid warfare report. Okay, this is something we talked so much about before. Even DHL, this is not a story that is new. Okay, this is something we have heard many times in the past, that Russia's saboteurs are trying to put explosive or incendiary packages on some of these planes, causing them to destroy themselves inside the aircraft, potentially catch the aircraft on fire and crash. We even had a report months back I think it was in Lithuania, we had a DHL plane that actually crashed and it was on fire. Now, was it due to one of these packages exploding on there and maybe the Russians were able to sabotage that aircraft? Maybe. But apparently these were Ukrainians that were working on behalf of Russian intelligence services. Okay, so once again, another scary report about this and getting us closer to World War III. We'll see what the German and Swiss authorities decide to do, but apparently these were Ukrainian nationals carrying out this sabotage event here. Okay, so crazy news there. Now from Ilya Ponomarenko. Fresh poll from the KIIS. 74% of Ukrainians trust Zelensky as their president as of May 2025. 71% believe that elections must be carried out only after a complete armistice and the war's end. Okay, so new report on a fresh poll coming out from Ukraine. Okay, so looks like now 74% of Ukrainians agree that they trust Volodymyr Zelensky as their president and also to end this war. I mean, his poll numbers have been growing. If you notice here from December, they were down to 52, all the way up to 74 now, gradually jumping up a little bit each month. Apparently, they trust their president, so that's big news coming out from Ukraine. And then also 71% believe that elections need to be carried out only after we see an end to this war. Okay, so major support for Volodymyr Zelensky in Ukraine and massive turnaround as well for support. So now from Anton Gerashenko, British Defense Intelligence has released satellite photos of the aftermath of ammunition explosions at the 51st GRAU or GRAU munitions arsenal in the Russian Vladimir region on April 22nd. We covered this report back in April when this happened. According to the UK Defense Ministry, they indicate that a significant portion of the depot, more than 1 square kilometers, was damaged by the detonation, suggesting massive losses at a key strategic depot supplying Russia's war in Ukraine. It also commented on the Russian Defense Ministry's statement that blamed the explosions on security breaches, suggesting that the loss of ammunition could be caused by poor weapons handling procedures alongside negligent storage of munitions. The 51st GRAU explosions likely resulted in the largest loss of Russian munitions caused by Russia's own actions in the current conflict so far. British defense intelligence concluded, excuse me. So yeah, we talked about this last month when this thing exploded over here in the Vladimir region. It was an absolutely massive explosion. We can see a lot of the damage here was right in the center of the complex. You can see a lot of these bunkers just completely gone and turned into rubble. Okay, so looks like a good maybe 50% or more of this facility was destroyed on that day when we had that massive explosion. You can see here in these two photos. So pretty cool to see that. Now, from next to the Pentagon does not rule out a war between the U.S. and Russia. The U.S. Department of Defense considers a direct conflict between the United States and Russia possible in the event of an escalation of the war in Ukraine. This statement was made by General Gregory Guillo, if I'm saying that right, head of the U.S. Northern Command and North American Aerospace Defense Command, also known as NORAD. Guillo's remarks were prepared for a hearing in the Senate Armed Services Committee, where the growing likelihood of conflict with countries like Russia, Iran, China, and North Korea were discussed. So isn't that interesting? Okay, we're hearing that Russia and the United States become like best friends, but yet we're hearing directly out of NORAD that we could see a war between the U.S. and Russia. Now, that's very interesting. I mean, we are seeing a turn of events happening inside of Ukraine right now. We are seeing the U.S. starting to side more with Ukraine ever since we had that minerals deal that was signed between Volodymyr Zelensky and Donald Trump. But yeah, apparently they don't rule out the possibility of a war between the U.S. and Russia. Now, I guess this would throw everybody off guard here and catch everyone by surprise if that were to happen, just based on what we've been seeing recently is, Russia and the U.S. been stating, like, let's do all these deals together, let's start economically working together, and then out of nowhere, could we see a war with the U.S. and Russia in the near future over this settlement of trying to end this war against Ukraine? I mean, things are going to get crazy if we see Russia decide, I don't want to end this war. Well, that's when the U.S. going to come out, slam sanctions onto Russia, and that's going to definitely sever some ties there, I would think, and make things more difficult to reach a settlement in Ukraine. So anything could really happen, and I think it's right for NORAD to be prepared for that, just in case that happens to be the case. But yeah, anything could really happen coming out from this war. Now, for more translated, France will transfer to Ukraine all-wheeled Caesar self-propelled howitzers produced in 2025, President Macron announced. Around 12 units are manufactured each month, so the total could reach up to 144, several times more than have been delivered throughout all the years of full-scale war. All right, so we know artillery shells is a very big thing inside of Ukraine. They utilize that to hold the Russians back, and I think they're getting like more than 2-3 million shells a year right now from multiple nations, just even in the EU. I think they're getting like around 2 million from the EU alone. So yeah, apparently a lot of these Caesar self-propelled howitzers, all of them that are going to be produced in France are going to be going directly over to Ukraine. Okay, we're going to see so much heavy military equipment just flowing into Ukraine, and Ukraine is going to become more powerful, especially if this war comes to an end. I think Europe is going to massively increase the amount of weapons flows into Ukraine. Now for Max 24, Ukrainian air defense shot down 80 out of 145 Shahed UAVs, 42 drones suppressed by electronic warfare, and 0 out of 1 Iskander-M or KN-23 missiles being shot down. Okay, so a lot of drones entering into Ukraine last night. Didn't have too many reports on damage, but just yesterday we had reports that only 10 drones were entering into Ukraine and all of them were shot down. Now we had 145 the next day. Okay, so a lot of drones entering into Ukraine. I'm sure there was some damage, but I wasn't able to find any reports on that. Looks like a good majority of them were shot down, though 80 alone, more than half being shot down this time around, and 42 suppressed by electronic warfare. Looks like we did have a missile being fired, but allegedly it was not taken down. Now from the Kyiv Independent, these are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of May 14th, according to the armed forces of Ukraine. All right, and our final update of the day, Russia's losses as of May 14th, 1,240 troops, 14 AFVs, 126 vehicles and fuel tanks, 2 tanks, 47 artillery systems, 82 UAVs, 1 MLRS, and 3 anti-aircraft warfare systems. Okay, so lots of destroyed equipment here today, especially this 3 anti-aircraft warfare systems. I mean, I'm really going to be watching this one here because we've been hearing so many reports that Russia is very short on anti-aircraft warfare systems, anything to bring down incoming drones, S-400s, the TOR systems, Panzer S-1, air defense systems. they are short on air defense systems all across the board. We had a report yesterday that a lot of them are being transferred to Crimea right now, especially after the Moscow parade was over. And also, Far Eastern Russia, they're starting to place mock-ups over there of anti-aircraft warfare systems as well, to make it appear as if they're still storing their air defense systems over there in the east, but in reality, they have had to move them due to a shortage of air defense systems. Okay, so overall, across the board over here, though, pretty much about average what we've been seeing in terms of numbers and losses in this war, guys. So I want to thank you very much for being here in today's update, and you guys let me know what you think. Do you think Putin will be there tomorrow at the meeting? That's something we're definitely waiting to hear. We might possibly hear about that today. He does have time to head over there if he leaves today. So let's see what happens here, guys. Let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.